Hello everybody, welcome. This is Carl's Roller Coaster Podcast. Hello guys and girls, how are you doing? I hope you're all well and trying to make the most out of those crazy times you're currently living. When you think things are improving, they tend to take a different turn, don't they? At least here in the UK. And from what I can see, all over the world, things aren't really progressing, especially for us that work within the music industry or the entertainment industry, should I say, in the most positive way. However, that's the key word, isn't it? Positive. We got to stay positive. We got to believe that comes January, we're going to have some sort of resolution, some sort of positive outcome of the search for a vaccine, so we can all resume certain level of normalcy on our lives. And perhaps I'm thinking best case scenario, as I have a tour already in April with Phil X from Bon Jovi. And I hope that we can actually make that happen, you know, because it's definitely happening on the paper, but we never know. Anyway, I'd like to start this podcast today mentioning that my guest was Matt Sinner, the great Matt Sinner, legendary German musician who started his career back in 1982 with his band Sinner, and he founded later on in the 90s Primal Fear with Ralf Scheepers, which was Gamma Ray's singer and another big musician, big artist from Germany. And these guys together built a huge legacy, especially within the heavy metal world, a incredible group of albums, collection of albums, should I say, that surpassed the test of time. And Matt himself, he started back in 2010 a project called Rock Meets Classic, which is an incredible collection of rock legendary tunes that they perform live with lots of different special singers as guests, and they included the likes of Ian Gillan and Eric Martin, and I mean this is so long, it kind of like slipped my mind now. I should have this information in front of me, but I don't. But anyway, it is an incredible project with a symphony orchestra. It's the Matt Sinner Band and the Symphony Orchestra, and yeah, it's something that for some reason I still haven't got my hand around to go and see these guys perform live, but I'm sure I will as soon as, hopefully next year, when their tour in May, I think it is already booked. Arenas all over Germany. So my relationship with Matt started back in 2005 when I was still a heavy metal singer. For those of you that are not aware, yes, I started as an artist, and it does feel like a lifetime ago, but yeah, I used to sing. And my first band, a professional band, was Celerata from the very south of Brazil, from Porto Alegre, and our first album, Darkness and Light, which is available on all the streaming platforms. In all your DSPs, you can find the record available for streaming, and also on YouTube you can see the videos for the first single, Eminence. Anyway, Matt helped ink the first European deal of my life. So back then in 2005, he was the one responsible for us getting a licensing deal with MTM and SPV from Germany, and we got the album eventually then released in Europe and in all of the European market, all the stores. It was a time where, you know, albums were being pressed and we were still shifting copies of records. This is pre-Spotify and pre-Apple Music and all of that business. So yeah, we did sell quite well in Europe back then, and especially in Japan. But then Japan was a different story. But anyway, just back to the main star of the show here, Matt. We kind of forged then a good relationship. He did help a lot the band back then. And when I moved to London in 2008, we got to meet in person when I interviewed him just before he performed at the Garage in Islington here in London with Primal Fear. We end up seeing each other again a couple of years later at Bloodstock Festival. And anyway, it was great to catch up with Matt after so many years that we haven't properly talked to each other, spoken to each other, and it was really good. We had an amazing conversation, but there is a big but here. I committed a mistake. I committed a very rookie mistake, but people say that you learn from your mistakes, right? And I do agree with that. And even though I'm not the kind of person that will say that failures are really good because you learn from your failures, they do indeed give you lessons, and I do appreciate the depth of this sort of statement. But they are not always very pleasant, especially when it comes to a guest of which you had a great conversation, very interesting conversation. We talked about not only music and career and what's been happening during 2020, but about lots of other stuff as well. But that conversation is in my mind because unfortunately I did not press rec. I did not record a conversation. I actually recorded only 10 minutes of our conversation. So unfortunately, that's all we have. That's all I have for you here today. It's the last 10 minutes of me and Matt Sinner talking, and obviously I've messaged him afterwards, and he was very he did understand, and he was super nice, saying, "Carl, shit happens, man, and it's not a big problem. It's never going to be a big problem because we are all in good health, and he's a friend, and we will catch up again." I already mentioned it to him that before he goes on tour, hopefully with Primal Fear in February next year, which will be covering the whole of Europe, and then Matt will be coming back after their European tour to do the Rock Meets Classic shows in Germany before he goes with Primal Fear to America to tour with symphony acts. So before all that kicks off, fingers crossed it will happen, we will sit down again and have another chat and revisit some of the topics, and probably talk a lot about other things that we didn't even tap into on this conversation. So, moral of the story here is, I was slightly annoyed, as you would imagine, when I realized that, oh my God, what's happening here? It's not being recorded. And I'm like, am I really that stupid? Was I that stupid? Well, turns out that yes, I did that. I committed that mistake. And we were in the middle of the conversation, like not in the middle, towards the end, but it was kind of like that moment that you're like, wow, what is going on? How do I, and you kind of have to refocus, because we were having a chat. I couldn't just stop at that time after 65 minutes of conversation and say, oh, wait a second, sorry, I haven't recorded any of this. I mean, it would break the whole vibe, of which unfortunately did not get captured, but anyway, in the end, I just regrouped myself with my own thoughts, and brought myself back to the present moment and focused on the present moment, and realized that, moved on to the next stage of my day, my personal day, and just, things happen, and they can be really complicated sometimes to deal on a personal level, but we kind of have to remember that always coming back to the present moment, which is all that we have. Yesterday never existed, tomorrow doesn't exist, because yesterday when you were living right here, right now. That was the present moment. And tomorrow, when you're leaving tomorrow, hopefully we're all going to be leaving tomorrow, the day of tomorrow, it will be the right here, right now again. And even though we, all I can speak from past experiences on my life, and I'm sure a lot of you will relate to it, that all of the things that I endured in the past that were not very pleasant and were somewhat frustrating, on a personal level, personal relationships, professional relationships, or even things that I believed, like for instance, we just talked about now about me being the singer, the artist. That's a story for another podcast, which I do intend to do it and explain a little bit about the ups and downs and how everything happened and how I accomplished so many things in the past. And eventually one day things kind of like collapsed. And you do tend to think that, oh my god, this is the end of my life, because that was my dream and that's all I lived for. And it is true to a certain extent. I did live for that stuff to actually happen, for that to be my career, for that to be something that I fully believed, and I didn't have a plan B for it. But in all honesty, years pass, and then things start to make sense, and then you navigate the seas of life, and you end up in a better place. And I can absolutely attest that I am in a much better place nowadays. If I look in hindsight, that if I was still a musician, still playing with that lot and doing music. So anyway, that's a conversation for another time, and I will dive deep into it and give you insights about what I just briefly talked to you all. If you do want to know about it, if you have any questions, any specific questions, if you know what I'm talking about, if you know anything about my career as a singer, as a musician, and do drop a message, send me a message on Instagram, and I'll happily reply and answer questions, and perhaps even include on the podcast. With you all now, I'll leave you for the last 10 minutes of my conversation with Matt Sinner from Sinner, Primal Fear, and Rock Meets Classic. Bless you all. Have a lovely, lovely day.
I'm really happy about all these people who were on tour with us, and it was, for me, the most exciting project I've ever been involved in.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Matt, do you have or follow any morning routines?
My morning routine is, since I'm not working in a record company since 12 years anymore, I at the moment I'm waking up, get me a coffee, open up my laptop, check what happened in the world, and having peace with my two dogs, and and drinking my coffee, and then slowly start the day.
That's good. And since you've been involved and played football for many years, do you practice any sports these days? Do you have anything that you do regularly in regards of physical activity?
The only thing I'm doing is, if the weather is halfway okay, I'm running 2 or 3 times a week alone. I want to have peace, quietness. Sometimes I listen to new productions, and I'm running 8 kilometers, but mostly in the evening, because sometimes the working days are so stressful and so many information. So the hard disk in my brain is full. It's great to get some fresh air.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, running is definitely something that I love running. I run like 5, 6 times a week. It has been a big part of my life on the last few years. I coordinate a bunch of running clubs here in London, and a cycling club now as well, in conjunction with a Danish brewery, Mikkeller. Don't know if you ever heard about them, but yeah, it's a great thing when you combine a physical activity with the social aspect of it, and obviously, who doesn't like a good beer, right? Especially after a good run.
Absolutely, and it's still also after a show. If I'm really sweating, like a Rock Mix Classic show is for 3 hours, but also on a Primal Fear show is going for 100 minutes, so more than 1.5 hours. The first thing I do is sit down in the dressing room, quiet, no music, open up a ice cold can of beer and enjoying it.
Do you have any style of beer that you like most? Like if you can choose, or
No,
no?
no. I'm for example, when I'm at home, I don't drink any alcohol. So
Really,
uh,
never, not even a
yeah,
glass of wine at dinner.
no, no, I don't drink any alcohol when I'm at home, and I don't need it. And for me, it's absolutely okay to have water, and so I don't really have so many specialties in alcohol. If we go on tour, of course, I can have a Jack Coke or something like that, which is always a nice thing to party with the boys, or after a show in the bus, having one or two beers before going to bed and sitting there with the crew and the guys and have a good time. So this is kind of cool. But if I'm at home, for example, I don't drink any alcohol.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's yeah. I think nowadays with the current world crisis, it has been a problem for a lot of people, staying at home, not having anything to do, and yeah, getting not very excited about life in general. And yeah, it has been a problem here in the UK, and I presume that in other parts of the world it has been very, very difficult in that sense as well. How are you in Stuttgart at the moment, Matt?
Yes, I'm living there, and I have a house, and in uh, the town I was born, and for me, as I'm poor, let me say, so many times so far away from home, it's always good to come back here, and I feel well, and I like it. So there is no reason for me to move to a different town or something. I feel well at home, and I like it, and I like my house, and I like the surrounding. It's all cool.
And how is the how are restrictions at the moment over there? Are you guys with restaurants and cafes and bars open? Do you have some sort of curfew taking place? And what's the scenario there now?
During this week, it was getting a lot of more discussed because the numbers are going up, and but all over. I think Germany did a good job so far, and the restaurants are open, the bars are open. You don't have wear a mask outside of your house, or you only have to wear a mask inside public places, which is okay. It's no problem. I was, for example, for the first time I was in Japan. I think it was '94 or '96. The people were wearing masks there because of the respect if they were kind of having a flu or something. So for them it was like kind of regular. And so if it's helping now to get the virus under control, since we get a vaccine, I think it's absolutely no problem to wear a mask in places you should be.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. It's just, I think it's just an extra bit of protection for everyone, and if not for the masses of people up till the age of 65, which is
Yeah.
definitely not the group of people that are at risk. But for the others, it's just about being considerate to everyone else. It's not about thinking only about ourselves. And yeah, I think that's definitely something that should somehow. It's really interesting that you mentioned Japan, because they were saying, I read an article a few months ago actually about the reasons, the possible reasons why Japan wasn't being hit so hard by the pandemic. And one of the reasons that they pointed was possibly the fact that, you know, for them it's just part of their culture, part of their daily lives, wearing a mask on those huge gatherings that they have, or on public transport and etc. So yeah, it's about pulling it together and just doing the right thing. It's just a bit shambles sometimes, you know, the economy and the governments, the way that they deal with things here in the UK. It's all a bit all over the place. It's just crazy when you think that things are getting back to normal, then new restrictions come in, and it's a bit crazy. It's a bit crazy. What do you do to unwind, Matt? What would be the perfect lazy day on your books?
Sitting on my couch with my laptop, watching a good football match, watching a good movie, have a good meal, nice dinner, and I don't have any more expectations.
Great. Do you, so that's a question for you there. If you're watching football at home, don't you open a can of beer?
No. I have moments where I'm watching a football match with my close friends in a bar, and of course we're drinking there. But at home, no.
How was it at the stadiums in Germany? Is it alcohol allowed?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
So, and we have a special number. If the city where the match is going over that number, nobody's allowed to watch the match. Is the number is lower than the regulation, then the local department says how many people can attend the match. So we're already matches in Germany were more than 10,000 people in the stadium, but on the other side there are a lot of matches where nobody's in the stadium.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's interesting.
You see, Germany is a collection of 16 own countries, and every country is doing that decisions for themselves, so it's very, very different. And if you take, for example, Bavaria, who has the most problems and infections, they have to do different restrictions than the people in the north, where the infections are really a low number.
Yeah, it does make sense. They are trying to do it localized lockdowns here in the UK as well, but I mean, I have very strong a very strong opinion about it, on how things should be done. But then it's such a complicated moment that anyone's opinion becomes something that it's become very political, isn't it? It's a conversation that it can go very easily south, you know, when you express your opinion about it, and it's just better to somehow understand and be I mean, get right information, I suppose, and understand exactly what's happening in regards of the virus in itself, because on the long run, I'm sure we will get we will get more answers and a better understanding of the whole scenario, not only the virus in itself. But yeah, that's still to be seen. We all have to hope that 2021 will be a better year, a bigger year, and we're gonna all be able to get back on the roads, because you've got a lot of touring for next year, sir, don't you?
Yes, I think it will be a very, very busy year, as far as everything is not going down again, and we have to postpone and postpone and postpone, like a lot of bands are doing. And on the other side is we're giving our best, we're trying our best, and let's see what we can do.
Amazing. Matt, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this conversation. It's been a pleasure. And I hope that we can connect in real life sometime soon. And
yes, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Maybe we can go for a jog together and finish it with a nice beer.
Okay, let's do it. Well,
Thanks a lot, Matt. I appreciate your time.
Have a nice day.
And you.
Till the next time. Yeah.
Till next time. Cheers.
All right. Ciao.
Bye-bye. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, this podcast, as much as I did doing it. So if that's the case, please do follow on Instagram at rollercoastercarl, myself at Carl Casagrande, on Twitter, same thing, Facebook, same thing. Do subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Spotify. That's very, very much appreciated. Thank you and have a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.